Kimura decided to backtrack to the 4-kilometer point and get a sample from what he thought was a hot spot. Radiation is above 300 microsieverts per hour here. It looks like time has stopped at this house, abandoned after the explosion of March 12th, with perhaps the intention of coming back for something. 166 million becquerels of iodine-131 and 21.2 million becquerels of cesium per square meter were found in ground samples here. That is a very large amount of radiation. When his west to east survey was finished, Kimura began sampling from south to north. He started out on March 20th. These are levels of radiation in the dirt collected in 3 spots, 20 to 30 kilometers from the Fukushima plant. Although both places are an equal distance from the plant, there is a 15 times difference in cesium between Suitsugi-machi and Katsurao-mura. It is clear that there is a difference in concentration.
Regardless of this scattered concentration, all residents living within a 20 to 30 kilometer radius of the power station were told to stay indoors. Thus, it was up to the citizens to decide whether they should leave or not. People were confused. After sundown, the crew visited the village of Katsurao-mura. There were no lights other than streetlights and traffic signals. On March 14th, 3 days after the earthquake, the entire village had decided to evacuate. Just before we all gave up thinking the town was empty, we noticed one lonely house up on the hill with the lights on. This was a family that raised racehorses. Yuichi Shinoki is the 5th generation owner of this ranch. The family has raised many famous horses over 100 years. There was a special reason that Yoichi and his son Yuichiro could not leave the village. This mare was ready to give birth at any moment. She needed care night and day.
運動とか日光浴もさせてあげたいんですけど、外がこんな状況で、こう外に出せなくて、難談にならないかって心配ですね。
3 days later, the crew went back to visit the Shinoki Ranch. He had been thinking hard about where to raise the newborn colt.
To get a grip on the entirety, data needed to be gathered from areas other than just the hotspots. Wishing to create a detailed contamination map connecting these spots, Kimura called on a certain researcher. Masahiro Okano, 84, a pioneer in environmental radiation survey.
Mr. Okano, did you get this data here?
This is iodine 131.
What? You've already found it? From today's...
There's quite a bit of it in the air around here today.
Yes.
After World War II, Mr. Okano studied under Yoshio Nishina, father of nuclear physics in Japan, at Natural Science Research Institute, RIKEN. Following the American Bikini hydrogen bomb experiment, Mr. Okano boarded a survey ship sent to the South Pacific by the Japanese government. In 1986, he joined an NHK coverage team to Chernobyl, just after the nuclear accident. He made records with his own radiation measuring device. His reports were highly evaluated internationally.
Oh, this is quite heavy. I admire you for toting it around.
Oh, yes, this. Originally, I used it to check deep sea faults. I attached it to the Shinkai 2000 or 6500.
This is the device made by Mr. Okano. It is a case that includes tube-shaped counters and recorders. It can record the level of radiation every 6 seconds, in addition to the time and location.
When there is an accident like this, it is important to assess the situation on site, but you must also look at the whole picture from quite a distance in order to understand the truth.
Towards the end of March, Kimura went to Fukushima's contaminated areas, this time with Mr. Okano's device in hand.
15時57分スイッチ入れます。
Kimura first drove along the main road because he is concerned about the people who live in clusters near the thruway.
サーベイメーター、あ、振り切ってます。振り切れてる。3マイクロシーベルト強ですね。3マイクロ。はい。4から5マイクロぐらい上がってきた。はい。やっぱ雪の存在じゃないですか。雪の存在が高いと思います。今ここ消えました。はい。下がってない。下がってきてます。だから下がってきてるけど、急激に下がってないっていうことはもうやっぱり雪で沈着した放出物がもう土壌汚染をしてるっていうような感じでしょうね。はい。3.5、3マイクロから4マイクロな。中で4だから出たら5とか。 ですね。
あれですね、屋内退避レベルですね。
はい。
多分。
Okano transferred the radiation data collected on the main road from south to north onto a map. Blue circles show areas where the measurement was 1 microsievert or below. Green indicates 1 to 2 microsieverts. 2 to 5 is indicated in yellow. Orange is for 5 to 10. And red shows the spots where the count was 10 or higher. Radiation levels were low on the southwest because they were separated from the nuclear power plant by 1,000 meter-class mountains. On the other hand, the levels got higher towards the north. An especially condensed area of radioactive contamination was found along the national route 399. It was at the edge of Namie-Machi, right on the border of the 30-kilometer zone.
Akogi Namie-Machi, one of the hotspots discovered by Kimura and Mr. Okano. A number of people had apparently fled their homes near Fukushima Daiichi and come to stay in this community center.
避難所の外側ですが、サーベイメーター20マイクロ振り切れてます。超えています。
The level of radiation had gone over the limit that could be displayed. Four couples and 4 single residents were living together in this center. These 12 residents had their reasons for staying there. Minoru Yoshida and his wife have a very dear pet cat.
綺麗な猫ですね。猫はどうしても避難のバスには乗って連れていけないですからね。ダメだって言われたんですか。バスもダメだし、部屋の中も入れられないし。ね。ね。いいこと信じるしろがないですよ。地震の時は何してらっしゃったんですか。
うちでコーヒータイムだったな。
Kimiko Iwakura and her husband remained in Akogi so they could go home every day to feed their cat and their dog. According to Kimiko's diary, they have been home 4 times in the 2 weeks since coming to Akogi.
じゃあまた来るからって言って帰ろうとすると犬を追っかけてくるんですよ。でどうしようもないからすぐに外れるような感じにクリッとこう1回くらいガーッと力入ったら取れるようにそうやってきたって、次の日、20日の日に行った時は取れてましたから。外したんですね。追いかけてこれたら困るからね。私も原発に前勤めてた時もありましたね。30代の時に、その時はまあね勤め口があってみんな勢いよとしていましたけど、今このような生活を送ってもう毎日が夜寝る時も朝起きても虚しくて、悔しくて原発東電がすごく憎く思ってます。もう電気がなくともね夜暗くてもそういう生活でもいいから原発はもう絶対欲しくないですね。